Good evening, everybody. We're reporting live here from J. Rome's Garage. Special off-site location. We're usually at BFD. I usually have my co-host, Anthony Johnson, next to me. Tonight, he's been replaced by two, so I feel like I'm in luck here. I've got J. Rome, owner of the What's your team called?
J. Rome.
Is it just called J. Rome? You don't have a team name. It's just J. Rome.
J. Rome.
That's the way he rolls. And then special guest here. J. Rome's been with us before, but I've got Jay, the owner of Jay's team, leader.
All right, let's hear for Jay's team.
The leader of the league, number one in the league. I mean, really, number one in standings, putting up just huge points week after week, setting records in our league. Jay, honestly, a couple things I want to talk about. I mean, really, at what point did you feel in the season that really I got something going here? I like my team. I'm confident that I could win week in and week out. And then, was it at the beginning, or was it just like a few weeks in?
No, honestly, I thought at the beginning. Yeah. Very, very beginning. Yeah.
Well, you did draft well. We've talked about that on the show a few times, that, really you haven't had to make a ton of moves. Maybe just some bench players you're swapping in and out.
Well, basically, I started ninth, so I tried to jump one move ahead. Like everybody was taking a quarterback, I took the receiver.
Yeah, no, and I mean...
and then I backed it up, and then I tried to jump it again the next round. And as we talked about, Julian Edelman was... he's been a weak player, and finally I benched him, and he puts up 23 points, which is fantastic, unbelievable, and I still, so it's hard to predict a lot of this stuff.
Absolutely.
And you try to fill it up, but right now, as being where I'm at, I'm looking towards the playoffs.
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, commissioner of the league, Team Chalk and all. I'm in second place now. Jay's in first. We're both the only two teams that are actually clinched for the playoffs right now, both at 8-1. So I mean, definitely looking forward. Really, you can just play that game where you're looking at the bench and you're saying, hey, maybe I can find a better third receiver. I can find that. You're not worried about some of the other teams are not really worried about who they're starting at quarterback right now, or who they're going to start as their number one running back, which is crazy to me. But I mean, fortunately for you, you've avoided the injury bug. And really, everything that you've, a lot of the players you drafted, you've hit on. And that New England offense, I think that's where you turned the corner this year.
Well,
when they started hitting, they had that bad game in Kansas City.
Gronk.
Right. That's all.
That's all you can say to that.
Well, honestly, if you wanted to talk about NFL MVPs this year, I mean, I think Rob Gronkowski is somebody that comes to the top of the list, because really, you see what New England's offense is when he's not right, and then the last couple of weeks we've seen what it is when he's the man. Right, J. Rome?
That's right.
I mean, when Gronk is Gronk, we talked about it last week, but I mean, he carries NFL men.
Did he just pass the New England record for tight end touchdowns?
Yeah,
something
absolutely.
Like that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, he just carries grown men into the end zone. It's insane.
It's a beast.
Insane. Here,
well, Tom Brady asked or said to Gronk when he made that catch, how did you catch that?
Oh, the one, the left hand.
He said how that.
What are we going to week 9?
Yeah. Yeah, no. Here at Clubhouse, we're going to recap week 9 action. I mean, I can't believe, guys. I mean, really, we're out here. It's chilly outside. We've all got knit caps on. Jay's got his full leather,
the slicker,
just like crazy. I'm gonna kill somebody's shit on, and but it's chilly out. This football weather. I mean, it's an exciting time of the year.
It's cold in the garage.
And really, we're coming down the the home stretch. Like I said, Jay and I are clinched for the playoffs, but we've just got a gaggle of players at 4-5, 3-6. I think everywhere between place 5 and 12. Everybody's either 4 or 5 and 3 and 6, so everybody's still got a chance. I mean, everybody can still make it in, still get into the playoffs, still make the Super Bowl, still win it all. Who knows? I mean, you can see what happens week in and week out. I mean, really, there's upsets that happened last week. There's going to be upsets that happen in the playoffs. So I mean, really, it's still anybody's game here, Ron. What's the first matchup we're going to look up at week 9 here?
We'll just go backwards on it. Start with Jay's team.
Jay's team, and that Bitches Love Cheese team owned by Emily Shive. Definitely. I mean, Jay's team just puts up huge numbers again.
Every week.
Every week he does. I mean, really, a couple of top receivers in the league. Let's talk about that at first. I mean, you've got T.Y. Hilton and Demaryius Thomas. I don't know how much you get to sit down and actually watch these games, but I know last week the CBS game of the week was Broncos Patriots. And I mean, really, every time that Demaryius Thomas touches the football, if there's somebody that's not right on him, I'm thinking he's gone. The speed.
He is. He is kind of amazing how he does that.
He's gone as a freak athlete. I mean, I think that Demaryius really, I think when we look next year into who we're going to draft first at that wide receiver position, I think that Demaryius is probably going to become over Calvin Johnson, who was everybody's number one pick.
Right, this year.
Yeah, this year.
Demaryius Thomas will be the number one pick
I think next year, Demaryius.
Or Gronk.
is just hands down, Demaryius is the number one receiver in the NFL right now as far as fantasy goes.
Well, I'm Ben Roethlisberger, if you want to
Oh,
really.
Oh, yeah,
going on that.
I played him a couple weeks ago. Unbelievable.
Well,
That was
somehow you withstood that, though.
Oh, I
You still
did.
came
I
out with
could
the
not
win.
believe it.
You still come out with the win. Let's just look real quick. We talk about your team all the time, Jay, but I mean, really, it's still worth mentioning. Drew Brees puts up a normal. I mean, he's putting up the
19,
normal
20.
standard for you every week. I mean, but counting on a quarterback for 20 points a week, that's big numbers for you. We talked about Demaryius, T.Y. Hilton, still the man out there in Indianapolis. Reggie Wayne's definitely taking second, sitting back. Reggie Wayne has a decent week last week, Jay. I think
I had Reggie Wayne.
and it was good to see him come back, catch a few balls, score a touchdown.
Do something for
a
game this year.
Yeah.
He's only got 400-something yards through 8 games.
Right, but I think that's something going forward that you'll be able to rely on a little bit of output
Hopefully,
from him. Ronnie Hillman, pickup of the year over here by Jay.
Maybe.
But that's what happens when you pay attention. I mean, there's guys that are going to, it's a tough game. NFL's brutal. You guys are beating the shit out of each other every week.
There's injuries every week.
Yeah,
There's just crazy injuries this year.
And Jay sees somebody like Ronnie Hillman sitting out there probably week 4 or 5, something like that. Monty Ball goes down. We pick up Ronnie Hillman, and all of a sudden you've got a legit number one receiver playing for a number one offense.
Well, that was kind of what I thought about in my draft. It wasn't just who the quarterback was; it's who the receivers were too.
Well, right.
And I know if Peyton Manning is the quarterback, then there's going to be 2 guys on that offense that are going to be awesome.
Right.
Well, and that Broncos offense is going to be
and as a new player, this is my first year of playing.
Right. Well, yeah.
And as a new player, that's the way I approached it. Was all right. So I got Demaryius Thomas, the Patriots or the Broncos' number one receiver. I go, all right. Well, Gronk,
number one.
Is the number one tight end.
Right.
Right. And then all right, nobody took Drew Brees yet. So boom, I got Drew Brees, which is more than adequate.
Oh, absolutely. Year in, year out.
And
Drew Brees.
now I'm building something.
Well, and then let's keep talking about it. We'll expand on your draft right now
All right,
because we're going to move down to Arian Foster right now. Arian Foster is somebody that really was going into the year. There's a lot of injury concern, back problems, da-da-da-da. I mean, Arian Foster's been a fantasy stud for the past few seasons, but this first was kind of a question mark going into this year. You drafted him probably, 4th, 5th round this year, somewhere in there?
I believe it was the 4th round.
Right, and this guy has just been blowing up.
Can't believe it went that long, that nobody even took him until the 4th round.
Well, like I said, Jerome, I think that it had lots to do with the injury concern. That people think that maybe, he had back problems.
Right.
And we're going to talk about Tony Romo as well here soon. And, the back is, back injuries are always fickle. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know if that's, something that, it could be career ending.
This guy already had surgery on him.
Yeah. So, you don't know. I think that was a lot of the hesitation. But Jay pounces on it, takes him in the 4th round. And this is a guy, he's got to be a top 2, 3 running back all year long.
He's put up some huge
numbers. You've got guys that are bailing it out week in and week out. Rob Gronkowski, we touched on that already.
Terry, shit.
And then
my kicker goes.
Puts up 19.
He puts up a 19.
And it's always nice though. You always.
Well, it is.
It's always nice to
have.
have.
I was. To be honest with you, going into that game, I had 2 guys going, and my opponent had 1.
Well,
were you already winning at that point?
No, I was behind, but I felt pretty good.
But it's always good to have. I think a lot of times you'll try and look for. People put too much into finding kickers, but really, all you need to do is find, like we were talking about, find a kicker that is on an offense that scores.
Right.
And he's going to score points as well.
Yeah, correct.
It's as simple as that. We touched upon Julian Edelman already. That's probably somebody you're going to probably end up starting now week in and week out.
I don't have any choice now.
Right.
He put up a 23.5,
right.
and I benched him.
Right. You kind of get bit in the ass there, but it doesn't cost you the game. And we'll touch on Emily's
still
team.
Another blowout game. Yeah, for the most.
Well, when Jake blows out everybody.
I know.
You put up numbers like
work.
that, you blow out everybody. Emily puts up 95 points this week. I bet you she would have beaten 4, 5, 6 teams this week.
Right.
With that score. It wasn't a horrible score. She didn't have a terrible effort by everybody. It's just, she ran into a juggernaut. She runs into Jay's team, and she falls. But the one thing I do like about Emily's team is that she makes you beat her. She doesn't have those weeks where she's putting up 50, 60, some shitty numbers. She's putting a decent number every week. And
not at all.
You got to go out and you got to beat her. Last week Colin Kaepernick kind of falls short. There was the whole thing. I don't know if you guys caught. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if you guys caught any of that. The St. Louis San Francisco game, kind of controversial, but really San Francisco hosting Let's talk about San Francisco for a second. This is a team going into the season. That we think San Francisco is a Super Bowl contender.
Well, they were supposed to be last year, and they, so you expect them to come back this year and do the same.
Exactly, and now they're kind of muddled 4-4. They lose to St. Louis at home. I mean, everybody makes a big deal how maybe that should have been a touchdown or it shouldn't have been a fumble or whatever. But really, if you're playing St. Louis at home, you should have that game in the hand already.
You should.
Yeah. Just looking through her lineup, Andre Ellington, LaShawn McCoy. She has a great. I like her running backs.
Yeah.
I like her running backs. Andre Ellington's really kind of turning into that sleeper stud for her this year.
Right.
Puts up 21 for her last week, and really another game that was broadcast on national TV last week.
I was watching that game,
yeah.
and he was on her team.
Well, yeah, and that was at the beginning
I was
of the game,
definitely not happy with all the stuff he was doing.
Exactly. No, but he's a focal point of that offense, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's kind of like an Arian Foster a little bit.
Exactly.
They're moving that offense around him. Ellington's he's catching passes and he's getting the rushes and he's catching passes on top of it all. He's kind of he's the safety valve for Carson Palmer right now.
Yeah.
And a great draft pick.
Oh yeah, absolutely. She picks him up probably that 4th, 5th round area like you got Arian Foster. LaShawn McCoy. Really, one thing I want to touch upon with McCoy is really he's just not scoring touchdowns. The yardage has been there the last few weeks. Just hasn't gotten the scores lately, and I think that's something that come playoff time, LaShawn McCoy is a guy that could put up 2-3 touchdowns in a game, guys. So, I mean, that's something that if you face Emily in the first round of the playoffs, or whatever it is that you face her in the playoffs, you've got to look at McCoy and say, please don't let this guy finally.
But also nowadays too, you got Mark Sanchez playing with the Eagles also.
That's
so
true.
That
but is it a bad? But is it a
could-
bad thing for her? They can rely more on the running game, maybe.
They might.
It might be
They'll see how it works out at first, and I mean.
It might be a better thing for her that they're going to maybe rely on the running game more, and the red zone opportunities. Hand it off to McCoy when it's 1st and goal at the 3 instead of doing their shotgun 4-wide spread and this and that. No,
give the ball.
I think it could be a decent thing for her.
Yeah.
Emily falls to 6-3, but we're not too concerned about her team. I think that we could go ahead and safely put her in the playoffs.
And do not want to face her in the playoffs.
Yeah, let's go ahead and move on to the next matchup. Up next here, where are we going here?
Tell me your phone don't work.
Oh, we're good.
Let's go with the mayor and.
This is a great matchup. High points on decent points on both teams. We've got Miles, the past champion, and pioneer in the league, 2 pioneers in the league, and then Brad, the owner of that Eat My Dust squad.
Weak.
You know what? Jay was talking about Ben Roethlisberger earlier.
Right. Yeah.
And I mean, really, Miles has struggled with gold here.
Oh, absolutely! I mean, 2 weeks in a row,
6 touchdowns, 500 yards.
And he's done it before too. So it's like the third time he's done it.
Well, it's 2 weeks in a row.
Absolutely amazing.
2 weeks in a row, 12 touchdown passes total, over 840 yards. Never done in NFL history before. I mean, really, and it's like
even the 500-yard game, that's only been done one other time.
Yeah, by him.
Well, and
besides him,
he's done it.
But he has it twice.
He's done it twice. That's the craziest thing. I mean, and we're both, all 3 of us. I mean, we've been around long enough that we remember the Pittsburgh Steelers of the past. It was just like dirty run, grimy.
James Harrison. Last week, man, he was just like the James Harrison. Oh, retired.
Yeah, no,
unbelievable. Went to Cincinnati. They didn't want him. Retired. Pittsburgh called him back. He came in. What a monster game against Baltimore.
He said he is a monster. I mean, really, the guy's obviously keeping himself in shape.
How can you not believe that?
But I mean, honestly, I was watching a little bit of that Sunday night game, and it occurred to me that I've been watching the Steelers. I'm 34 years old. I've been watching them a long time, and I always just remember these lining up smash mouth teams. And now they're shotgun. They're flinging it all over the place. Antonio Brown having a huge season as well. I mean, really, they've evolved into a very
touchdown to Spaeth. Was it the 6th touchdown?
Yeah.
With the lob over the top.
Man, just beautiful.
Absolutely amazing.
Beautiful.
And who would you ever think you would call that? Let alone execute it.
Well, let's think about it too. I mean, Ben Roethlisberger. I mean, coming up, kind of a younger quarterback. He was given he's given the reins to.
He was Super Bowl his first year.
Yeah, exactly. He's given the reins to just a huge, high-powered team with all this history, and he was a game manager. He's not he's not doing what he's doing now. He was a game manager. He was, don't screw it up and we'll win. And now he's evolving this season in his 10th year. I can't believe it.
He's been around 10 years already.
Yeah.
A lot like Peyton Manning being able to control the game.
No, that was when they played the Super Bowl in
Detroit.
06. The 06 Super Bowl.
It was 5.
No, it was January 06, but it was
the 5 season.
The 5 season, yeah.
10th season.
10th season. No fucking shit.
Exactly. We're getting old, guys. Ben Roethlisberger out of Miami of Ohio. Yeah, been in the league.
Miami of Ohio.
10 years.
He won 15-1 that year. He started out 0-1 and he won 15 games.
But really, this game comes down to money.
Very good, Jeremy.
This game comes
Sorry,
down.
J-Ro.
J-Rome.
This game comes down to Monday Night Football. Okay, and I'm really going into Monday Night Football. It was looking like Brad was lining up for a victory. 115 points you'd expect to win. He should win, 9 out of 10 times.
You would think.
He gets that huge effort out of Kobe Fleener.
That's what it was, because
Yeah.
Kobe Fleener didn't do shit all year.
Yeah, and all of a sudden
One
First-
night he puts up 15 points.
first quarter gets that huge touchdown pass from Andrew Luck. Miles has got to be sitting up at Michigan State University
Like, what the
in his
fuck
little
is-
dorm room.
Yeah.
Maybe he's
Being
watching
a Spartan.
Yeah, maybe watching on his little 13-inch TV, just going, "Oh my gosh, whoa, what's going to happen?" And I love it, Miles. Miles, and I'm gonna extend the offer one more time. I know you're gonna be home Thanksgiving weekend. I haven't heard from you yet. I want you on the show Thanksgiving weekend.
Miles, you're coming on the show.
Yeah, don't be a chicken, be a turkey.
We talked about it a little bit. He's got the Malcolm Floyd, Michael Floyd thing going on. Both of them starting. Let's take a look. Take a look at his bench real quick. He actually benches A.J. Green last week. Maybe still a little bit concerned about the toe injury. I've got to imagine going forward, though, A.J. Green, somebody's going to start every week.
Right.
I mean, A.J. Green, clearly his first-round draft pick. He's probably going to be looking at starting like A.J. Green, Roddy White, and, maybe he starts starting the Bryant kid out of Pittsburgh with the way that offense is going. Something he's going to have to be concerned with week in and week out. But I'd say overall, I've liked Miles' squad all year long. I think that he's run into some bad luck. He sits at 3-6. This is a team that I see, guys. If you're in that playoff bubble right now, you're at that 4-5, 3-6 team. You need to be cheering against Miles because he's got decent points. He's going to win the tiebreakers against you. And trust me, I don't want to see him in playoff jail. If you play
You
Miles
need to be
first
worried
round,
about
do
your
not-
gloves
it's not
on.
it's not a slam dunk.
No, do not want to see him in the first round.
Yeah, not a slam dunk.
For multiple reasons.
Yeah.
Well, just Ben Roethlisberger alone, right there.
Quick over to Brad's team. And Brad's dealing with huge bye week trouble last week, which he does a nice job of filling out his roster last week. Brad is the owner of Calvin Johnson, Alshon Jeffrey, and Julio Jones. 3 good wide receivers, all on a bye last week. He's able to plug in a decent lineup that puts up decent points. And it's got to suck for Brad because Brad falls short.
Right,
this week.
and especially playing a backup lineup and scoring 115 points,
Exactly.
you would expect
Right.
to
Yeah, maybe that would.
pull out at least eke out a win.
Yeah,
He did get the trade for Aaron Rodgers, though. That's going to bring. I think that's going to be something for watch out on his team.
yeah, exactly. But I thought it was a great trade on both sides.
It was definitely a great trade on both sides.
Yeah, I think it's a great trade on both
It
sides.
hasn't worked out very well so far.
No, it's worked out for both. we'll get to that in a minute.
Sorry.
But we would just look at it real quick. Brad's out there; he's paying attention.
I like the Denard Robinson that he picked up because I actually
Very
tried
nice.
to pick him
Very
up, and
nice.
I got beat out of it by
Great.
Brad, and that was
Great pickup.
Yeah.
He's got Denard Robinson, Mike Evans. Does anybody here really know who Mike Evans is? He's
No.
a receiver for Tampa Bay, rookie receiver
rookie
for the
receiver.
Buccaneers. And honestly, a lot of times those garbage points that you're looking for, they come out of shitty teams.
They come out of
You
shitty
know,
teams at
because
the end of the game.
Yeah,
but
they're behind and throwing the ball.
But those points are important.
They still count.
As a
Well,
matter
it
of
was,
fact.
if you want to go back to the game that the week, I think it was maybe week 8, where
Right,
we
the
were on the
final
phone,
touchdown by Foster,
Marion
the 2-yard
Foster,
pass,
2-yard
I think
pass,
it was.
and
was
that's
the one
won
that
you
put
the
me
game.
over the top. That,
Even though Houston still lost that game,
It doesn't
correct,
matter.
but
Yeah,
still,
it's
doesn't
still-
matter.
it's still-
it
they-
was absolutely huge.
you got huge
fantasy
points
wise.
for that.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
they still count the same. It doesn't matter. But
Oh, yeah.
that's something I think that Brad's looking at. And Brad's a player. Brad definitely a little bit more cultured with fantasy sports. He definitely is a fantasy football player. He knows what he's doing. He's out there. He's looking at the waiver wires, and that's what a lot of these other players. I think that's why a team like Brad, 3, 4, 5 weeks ago, we were kind of worried about maybe Brad not making the playoffs. He finds himself at 5-4, even after the loss this week. Definitely another team that I think we could find in the playoffs. Jeremy, what do you say? We move on to the next matchup.
Next matchup. Where are we at?
That's this week. Or last week.
Last week.
Last week. We're
Week
still
9.
Week 9
Which week
recap.
are we on?
There we go.
Whoa, we're on week 10.
All
All
right.
right, go down.
This is the game I want to talk about.
I think, you know what? Gentlemen, I'm gonna start this off with the commissioner's note before this gets too.
Okay.
All right. I want to talk about Team DB.
DB.
Team DB has been much maligned on this show. I've talked about how I don't like how he manages his roster. How I think that he misses out on everything that he ever does. He doesn't play very well. All that being said, all I've ever asked anybody to do is to start 9 players. That's all I want.
It's a common rule in the game.
Just start 9
Start
players.
9 players if they're not going to
As
bullshit.
commissioner, you can play in my league every year because you're easy money if you just start 9 players. However, you've got to always realize that within a league, no matter how much money you're playing for, there's competitive spirit, and it's fun. We love seeing teams like Jays that, he's having fun with it, he's enjoying it. I don't
Very
care.
much so.
I don't even really.
Very much so.
The money is just almost something that just ties us into the league
Jeremy,
a little bit.
my $10, by the way.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, man, I'm having a good time with it.
When you come over for Thanksgiving, I'll have your $10.
All right, there you go. Shut me up once and for all.
Yeah, no, it's about that. I mean, it's just about the spirit of competition.
It is.
And as commissioner, it's my duty to maintain a competitive balance. I see that Team DB last week. He doesn't start a quarterback or a defense. While he has a quarterback sitting on the bench that's active to play, all you have to do is
pick up a defense. And actually, there are other two players that put up zeros.
It's
come on now, guy.
It's bad. All that being said, the matchup that we're going over is Team DB and Roger McFreely, Suzanne's team. And unfortunately for Suzanne's team, she really just puts up goose eggs all across the board. Her team underperformed for her grossly. Philip Rivers, we're a big fan on the show of the Chargers offense.
Unbelievable.
What the hell
what a
happened?
beatdown for Miami flew all that way. I could not see that coming.
No,
what
not
the hell
at all.
happened?
And the Miami defense
San
put up
Diego was
22
hot.
points
They were
that
on a
week.
roll.
Well,
Antonio Gates was just on fire.
Well, the Chargers offense, and really all season long, has been one of those offenses, not as good as Denver and New England, but, really, if you have to plug somebody in, plug them in on the Chargers defense.
A 5-4 team that has a good offense, that can do it.
Right, and last week, they get past midfield one time.
Unbelievable.
I don't know what happens to these guys when they go from San Diego to Miami. Maybe the jet lag's too bad, but it was absolutely awful last week. Really, if Philip Rivers ends up putting up less than 1 point, turns the ball over four times.
Three interceptions and a fumble. That's horrible.
It's bad. Going through,
it's just good to say, man.
It's bad all across the board. Really, there's a lot of people that I like on Suzanne's team that really didn't show up to play. Pierre Gasson, I've talked about him many times on the show. Somebody who I think that
you know what? I'll say something. I had him on a team that I had last year in a different league, and he was a pimp the entire year.
Not just last year. He's been a pimp.
Even in Indianapolis.
He's been for
he's
3
been
years.
Sweet.
He's been a top 15
receiver.
NFL fantasy
and this
wide
year
receiver.
He's not doing much.
I think it has a lot to do with there's not a lot of chemistry in that Washington quarterback position.
That's true, too. They're juggling quarterbacks.
That's awful. What's going on there?
Yeah, we've had 3 quarterbacks.
I even thought about trying to pick up Griffith as a running back.
Well, that's what pretty much.
I thought about doing that. I'm in serious buy trouble. But anyway,
this week you are.
This week,
this
in
week
the future.
You are.
But I haven't thought about that just because it's amazing what these guys can do just running.
Oh no, they can. J-Rome's ran Russell Wilson on his week. Every other week.
I've played Nick Foles, but Russell Wilson will put up 30 points.
Right. It's been kind of.
Then I might lose that game.
It's been kind of here or there. Other things about her. But, she picks up Lamar Miller last week. Not that bad. That's one of the players she picks up in the trade.
Yeah.
Helps her with her.
Does have a bit of a shoulder issue, I think, going on.
He'll be all right this week.
Yeah, he's supposed to play this week. Yeah. John Brown, that's actually somebody that we've talked about on the show before. In a different league.
Rookie receiver.
We've talked about that being the wild card spot as the receiver spot. I picked up John Brown in a different league, kind of hoping for that big boom last week in Dallas.
Yeah.
And he falls well. He catches one pass last week, falls way short for her. Mark Ingram puts up a good game for her. But really, if we look at her roster as a whole, it's not that bad. Not that bad.
Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, even Bobby Rainey's doing 3 and 6.
Suzanne sits at 3 and 6, and honestly, at the end of the day, I think that Suzanne probably ends up being one of the teams that's on the outside looking in.
Could be wind up in 9th or 10th.
Well, and I think it has a lot to do with the fact that her roster didn't improve till so
wait
late
till
in the
trade
season.
deadline,
right?
Okay, so she's going to fall behind on points.
In a week to the trade deadline, right there.
You're going to have that tiebreaker for points.
Yeah, I think she's going to lose on the tiebreaker in a lot of situations. She might end up at 6 and 7, 5 and 8, whatever it is.
But on the outside.
But on the outside, because she loses on tiebreaking points.
Right, unless you go on a 4-game winning streak. Right here, after all your buys are up.
Well, her buys are up. She's getting Randall Cobb back next week.
Randall Cobb will be back next week. Fred Jackson should be back week 11.
Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins, Lamar Miller. She's got a good nucleus of players that can put up points week in and week out, put up a big number for her. But, really, there's some misequity. We're starting San Diego's defense. I don't know if that's necessarily somebody that I'm looking to start week in and week out. I think she's been holding on to him for a while.
A couple weeks, yeah.
So, I mean, really, Team DB, I don't really want to talk on it very much. The one thing I will talk about is Percy Harvin and the enigma that is Percy Harvin. I know, guys, I don't know how much you paid attention, Jay, to
When Percy Harvin went to the
was
Jets.
traded and all that stuff. I'm sure you're aware, but Percy Harvin he somehow is a cancer in a championship locker room, which I don't understand. So, you know what I think the perfect situation for Percy Harvin is to be in? Is a shitty one.
And he's in a team. He's a 2-1.
He was in Minnesota, which was
no, he's in Seattle. He's in
He
Seattle.
was.
Yeah,
He
now
was
he's
in a
Seattle.
shitty situation.
Now
He went
he's-
to a good situation, and now he
took a good situation, made it bad.
Right.
Yeah, but now he's in a bad situation. He's playing for a poor team. He can be
Poor
Mr.
team.
Big Shot. And last week he shows up.
Shows up.
He shows up. He puts
That's
up
not
100.
Same with Eric Decker. He showed up last week and
Yeah.
didn't
Well,
really
Mike,
do too much.
and we've talked about it on a weekly before that Geno Smith is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL.
Absolutely.
And clearly, he's not starting anymore. Mike Vick doesn't do too poorly for them last week.
You know what?
Right.
Even in previous leagues, I've taken Mike Vick as a starting quarterback.
Well, yeah. I think this is his poorest season that he's ever had. I think he's lost a step. He looks smaller almost. I mean, you watch
He's
him
about 20 pounds littler.
He
Yeah.
looks smaller. I don't know. Like, I'm worried that he's going to get hurt every time that he runs out of the pocket.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day,
2 years will do that to you.
Mike Vick is 100% better than Geno Smith.
Absolutely.
All right, so the Jets are better off fantasy-wise.
With Mike
If
Vick.
you own any Jets, if you're an owner of Chris Ivory, Percy Harvin, Jeremy Curley, Eric Decker, whatever it is, you want Mike Vick starting,
Yes.
and not Geno Smith. I mean, Geno Smith's just going to throw it to the other team.
Right.
Right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
can agree with that.
and now Percy Harvin, I think he's in an ideal situation. He's the best receiver on a shitty team.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that he's a me kind of guy. He doesn't give a shit about team. He just wants.
He's getting
I
paid.
think-
You don't give
I
a
think-
fuck.
I mean, I kind of think Percy Harvin's just playing. He might be a fantasy owner. He's playing himself in his own league.
Could be.
Give me 10. Give me
Shit,
10.
did won a Super Bowl last year.
Yeah,
and
he's
he's
like,
fine. You don't
give
give a fuck.
me 10 catches for $1.25 and I'm good. That's about all I have to say about Team DB is that he actually has Percy Harvin. He's got Jeremy Maclin. They both put up big numbers for him. Big numbers for him last week, and he ekes out a shitty win, like, I don't know, 75-60.
Last week was a fluke.
On those scores were very low this past week, as you predicted last week.
Well, we're dealing with a lot of buys. We're dealing with a lot of buys, and that's going to happen.
Well, you got the week 11 or week 10 bye this week coming up. With,
We'll get to it in a second. I've already looked at Chase roster. And folks, if you're a fantasy owner before, one thing that you actually can be proud of, Jay, is that when your bench is everybody's on a bye, you don't have to worry about making the wrong decision.
at the end of the
Oh, is that what it is? I've
Yeah,
already read it.
you
I've
can't-
already read it.
You can't play anybody else. They're all on a bye.
Well, right. Oh, yeah. Exactly,
Yeah, but now, but you're sitting at first place at 8-1, and that
Well,
week
yeah.
10 you're on a bye. So if you happen to lose this week, everyone's coming back.
Well, my idea is at least keep it close.
Keep it close.
Oh, absolutely.
All right,
You know,
I'm-
You'll have
in
11
the
and 2.
overall thing,
We'll
I
take a
think-
look. We'll take a look at the pickups that you made this week, and I think they're not that bad. Let's get into the next matchup. We've got that random chick and ridiculousness. My co-host Anthony Johnson. They square off last week. Last week on Weekly, we thought this would be a close game. Actually, it turns out to be a blowout. Random chick.
Yeah, the biggest blowout of the week, actually.
Yeah, random chick.
Very nice.
We've talked about how she's running some bad luck this year.
She has.
Not a bad squad. She's always. I think if we looked at the points against column, she's leading the league in who scored the most points against her.
I
And there's
believe she would be. Yes.
Yeah.
There's really nothing you can do about that.
No.
So she was up to 3-6. Anthony falls down to 4-5. They're both in that gaggle that we've talked about. Trying to get into the playoffs. Anthony's dealing with. He's got the Cowboys offense. All right, and Tony Romo's out.
Okay. Yep.
So he kind of deals with that last week.
The backup was terrible.
He's got
That
DeMarco
was
Murray.
an absolute terrible game.
Best,
Well, right,
best
and-
running back in the league.
Well, but for the first time, DeMarco Murray, not 100 yards. He ends his streak. He had 8 straight games of 100 yards.
Yep. That's
Not
true.
100 yards this week. He only gets about, I think he got 17, 18 touches. Nothing huge. He only puts up 10 fantasy points for him. And, I mean, really, that's somebody he's counting on for 20 points a week.
Right.
Much like some of the other teams are counting on, like quarterbacks, he's counting on his running back to put up that huge number for him every week.
And
And he's always had this wide receiver shuffle where he's got, Marcus Colston is probably on the bench this week. He starts Keenan Allen. He doesn't know who to play. And I mean, I understand that. I mean, the projected points are close on all of them.
Very much.
But I think that the weeks that he wins, he hits on those receivers. The weeks that he
Well,
loses,
look
he
at
misses.
your opponent, too, in your opponent's past history, theoretically.
Right.
Right.
Yeah,
No.
that's true.
Well, and then we've talked about Greg Olsen a little bit on the show before. Greg Olsen doesn't put up 2 weeks in a row. Greg Olsen kind of
He was hot a couple weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
He was hot a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, really, for the first
Now,
8
Greg
weeks.
Olson hasn't really done
Well, for the first 8 weeks of the season, Greg Olson probably a top 3 tight end in fantasy. The last couple weeks,
nothing.
I mean, what's going on? What's going on with Carolina? I mean, guys, we're all Detroit.
Their
Lions.
defense started out when the Lions played. I mean, their defense was fantastic.
Absolutely. I mean, we're all Lions fans.
And we
here.
couldn't beat them, and then after that, boy, everybody kicks their
I mean, they're like, I think they've lost or tied their last 5 games.
Yeah.
The Carolina Panthers. And when the Lions went into Carolina to play them, I mean, they looked like a legit, that
number one defense.
Yeah,
they had it all going.
They almost remind me of like San Francisco last year. They had that tough defense. They're going to grind the pound, hit the tight end, make the smart plays, and really they just haven't had anything going on lately. One thing I do want to comment about Anthony's team, he does pick up Jeremy Hill. We talked about it last week on the show.
Yeah,
he owns Giovanni Bernard. Gio is questionable last week with his hip and his shoulder. He's kind of looking fragile. Jeremy Hill, throughout the season, has been a great number 2 running back, putting up, 6 to 8 fantasy points every week, just in this backup role. And it's somebody that he had to have the handcuff, quote unquote. Got to have the handcuff. He has Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill was crazy last week.
28.6.
28 fantasy points.
That's ridiculous.
He busts off a 60-yard run, 60-yard run. I mean, you see the Jets. It's a young kid that can just take the hits. So, I mean, he's a rookie out of Auburn.
He'll be a good one to look out for next year.
Absolutely. And I one thing I want to hear about from you guys. I mean, what do you think in these situations where, okay, we've had Giovanni Bernard. He's been the starting running back all season long. He gets injured. And we've been watching Jeremy Hill. Jeremy Hill's been great in his backup role. We bring Jeremy Hill in the game, and all of a sudden he's putting up
huge points.
He's bringing the goods.
Oh, yeah.
What happens when both these guys are healthy? Are we looking at a 50-50 split?
Well, that's the coordinator's problem.
Yeah,
that's what makes the coordinator
probably. You know what I would imagine? Go with a 50-50 split off the first maybe week or two when Gio comes back.
Yeah.
Just to see.
It'll probably be next week.
Yeah, okay, he'll be out this week, but
he'll probably be
so
next
week 11
week.
He'll be back.
He'll be back. I mean,
I would do the split.
50-50. I think be a limited role. Be limited the first week back at least and see what happens.
So you say Gio first week back is limited. We'll see how he does, and then
I would if I was them.
Let him put him in the backup role and see what he does.
Yeah. See, guys, I disagree with both of you. I think that this is a situation where we drafted this running back, okay? So you're a franchise. You drafted this kid in the second round or whatever, and you're like, okay, we think he's got potential. He gets out there and he's doing the job. We've invested that. We've got him for the next 3 years under contract.
Talking about Jeremy Hill.
Yeah, talking about Jeremy Hill. I think that Jeremy Hill becomes the number 1 guy in Cincinnati, no matter what Gio does.
When he comes back. Possibly.
When he comes back.
I can see that.
He's going to be, I mean, honestly, from an ownership standpoint, he's going to be the cheaper price tag over the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Right.
I think that's who I'm signaling there if I'm an owner. And I think that's what the Bengals end up doing. I think that I predict
see what Marvin does.
I predict here on Weekly that in 2 weeks, when Gio's back and Jeremy Hill are playing, Jeremy Hill's out there for the first snap. He's the starter. Gio's the second guy. He's the third down back. They'll use them both. I mean, Giovanni Bernard.
They'll use them both, but they're not gonna.
They're not going to switch back to their previous roles. It's going to be a new role for both guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome, guys.
I agree with you.
Let's take a quick look at Random Chick's team. See what happened with her last week. She puts up 140 huge points.
Wow,
she
amazing.
Actually, for the first week in like 3 weeks, Jay doesn't put up high points.
I was bummed. Vinatieri kicked his butt off, though, so it was all right.
I mean, really, let's
Cam Newton didn't do a whole lot.
Cam Newton's kind of middle of the road. Andre Johnson doesn't do anything.
Sean Jackson,
But let's look at that. I mean, we've talked about Mohamed Sanu a couple times on the show already. That's a guy who's still just getting it done for the Bengals. Somebody who's made that chemistry with Andy Dalton. AJ Green's back last week, but Sanu's still the one that gets the touchdown reception. We've got Deshaun Jackson, kind of a boomer bust guy every week. And wouldn't you agree?
He's been going off the last couple weeks.
But I mean, okay. Tell me this, guys. If you see Deshaun Jackson, do you ever see him being a guy that gets 6 catches and 50 yards and a touchdown?
No.
Exactly. What's he going to do? He's either going to have like 2 catches, 10 yards, or he's going to have
150 yards on 4 catches.
It's going to come on like one huge 60, 70, 80 yard.
Right.
Because he's that speed breakout receiver.
Right. And that's a dangerous player on fantasy.
Well, yeah, absolutely. That's something.
He was one of the players I had last year that just did huge every week.
Right. No, I mean
he was a big part of the Nick Foles 2017 last season.
That's true, and I think that this season he's the epitome of boomer bust.
Yeah.
And I think that she's going to
Very
be
scary fantasy player.
she's going to either look up at the end of the week and see that he scored her 20 points
Or 2.
And in the playoffs, it's very scary
exactly.
also.
Could just knock you off and you
Could
never even
just
saw it
blow
come.
up and you know.
We've talked about her running back crew before. I love it. I think it's the best in the league. I think she has the best two running backs, running back combo in the league. Le'Veon Bell and Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's tough.
That's
think about it, really. Man.
That's probably the 2 best running backs in the league right now, besides DeMarco Murray.
I think she has the two best. I think she has the two best
combo back.
Combos. These are two guys that don't split carries, that are red zone. We're at the 3-yard line,
and they're getting the
we're
ball.
Turning around, we're handing them the ball.
Yeah.
Marshawn gets in the end zone twice last week.
He's a beast. That dude's.
He is.
I'm worried about his mind a little bit, but yes.
Well, yeah, he is. He is a little crazy, but I mean, they definitely give him the ball in the red zone, and they definitely
should. Give the nut job the ball and see what happens.
Exactly. Le'Veon Bell puts up another solid performance for her last week.
Words of wisdom.
And then we're looking at that though. We've been talking about how high-powered offense. We can consider Pittsburgh high-powered offense now.
You can now.
And then she's got.
They weren't the first.
Yeah, but
they are.
She's got Le'Veon Bell.
Very nice.
Exactly, on a high-powered offense. She gets like a nice
and he looked very good, by the way.
She gets a nice little bump last week from Charles Clay. A decent.
You know what? I was just going to comment on that too.
Yeah.
Charles Clay. He's a Miami tight end that doesn't do much weekly,
but she picks him up last week
and picks him up.
It's got to be one of the pickups of the week.
Yeah, you got to have
it
one.
has to be the pickup.
Nowadays, yeah. I mean.
We've talked about kickers, and we've talked about how you have to have kickers on high-powered offense. We find Steven Gostkowski is your starting kicker. I mean, that's somebody that she's
if you're scoring 7 touchdowns, you're at least going to get 7 points.
Exactly. I mean,
maybe a field goal or 2.
Gostkowski doesn't get very often. So I mean,
he's been the kicker of the year.
Yeah, she's getting a nice
with the highest point kicker.
So that random chick.
Is he?
Yes,
he's been the highest.
Yeah, he's best in the league this year, fantasy wise. So that random chick picks up a much-needed win. She gets into 3-6. Both these teams in that mix. We're going to see what happens. Let's move on to the next matchup.
We're still in week 9.
Yeah, week 9.
All right, so here you go.
Oh, here
Dave
we go.
And
we'll get
Dave
through
and
this
Tony.
one. We'll get through this one pretty
quick. Get this just quick. Tony, your team's weak. Next team.
Well, we talked about it. Tony.
Well,
we talked about it before, though. I mean, Tony relies so heavily on that.
Peyton Manning. That's
Peyton Manning only puts. I mean, it sounds crazy, guys. I mean, I think all of us would love to have a quarterback that puts up 25 points a week.
I would love it
every
week.
But
Tony needs Peyton Manning to put up 35, 40 points a week for him to win.
No, you can't put Ben's numbers up every week.
That's what he relies on, though. I mean, really, up and down. Up and down, Tony, I feel, has dealt with a little bit of magic this year. Tony didn't draft all that well in a lot of people's opinions.
He didn't draft all that well, but he had the first overall pick.
And he
took Peyton Manning.
Really?
Yeah. And he took Peyton Manning with the number 1 pick.
Well,
and he hit on some other players.
He hit on
some other drafted players. And
he's sitting at a 4-5 record. I mean, there's worse teams in the league.
Absolutely. You know what? I think that Tony's luck is going to start to change. I think so too. I think that Tony's one of the teams that I think I could safely say I see him on the outside looking at the end of the season because he's been relying on Golden Tate. He's kind of lucky that Golden Tate is dealing with no Calvin Johnson. He's been the man in Detroit.
Absolutely.
I think Golden Tate last 3 weeks, 20-plus points every week. Yeah, that's something that you're not.
What happens when Calvin Johnson comes back?
We're going to find out this weekend, guys. But I believe that
Johnson owners.
Yeah, Brad's going to love him being back. But I really think that going forward, that's not something that we're going to count on putting up 20 points every week. I mean, this is going to be more of a.
I don't know if either one of them are going to put it off. Be honest
you don't think Calvin Johnson will put up 20 points his first or second game back?
Well, I don't know. Will him and Golden do it?
No,
I mean that's a good thing about it.
So now both those owners.
So now both of those owners
are pickling that.
Yeah. Well, we talked about it. We did talk about it last week on Weekly that what's going to happen when Calvin comes back? Is he going to all of a sudden come back to that fantasy form that made him the number 1 overall receiver in fantasy, or are we going to have Matt Stafford and Golden Tate doing the thing for the whole season?
Keep with that.
We're going to keep with that. And maybe Calvin will be
and be a better offense. As what's been happening with the running backs too. It's so hard to find a running back because teams are everybody's doing running back by committee now.
Absolutely.
And it's a lot harder to score big
points.
And
that's why we talked about Random Chick and why we like her running back.
Right.
It's because she's not dealing with that running back by committee.
No.
I just wonder going forward. I don't see Golden Tate being a guy that's going to be a double-digit wide receiver every year or every week. I think that he's going to be more of that. Maybe he's going to be a boomer bust guy.
He'll get 10 points.
But Tony's been relying on him for 20. And this is
For now.
this is what's going to happen.
I
going
can't
forward.
rely on Golden State for 20.
Exactly.
He's a top 10 receiver, but
Exactly.
I can't rely on him for 20.
And we don't mind. I mean, I don't mind. He's got Doug Baldwin. He's got some.
He's a nice player.
He's a nice pickup for him. It's not too bad.
He's been a nice player for him.
DeAndre Hopkins for the first week all year really puts up numbers for him. So I mean, that's not something he's going to count on. I mean, just going through it real quick. Like
Antonio Gates is an on or off every other week.
Antonio Gates. I mean, really, last 2 weeks have been a base user for him. I mean, we talked about San Diego's offense. I mean, really, if you had a Charger last week, you hate your life.
It was bad. Everybody was bad.
It was bad.
If you had a Charger last week, you hate your life.
It was a fluke.
Last week was a fluke.
Quick
Try
look,
it again, sissy.
quick look over at my team. I mean, I'm actually kind of fortunate that I faced Tony's team last week. I was doing a lot of bye week doubles, much like you are this week, Jay. I've got Matt Forte in a bye, Jordy Nelson in a bye. I mean, two guys that I'm, Matt Stafford
relying
on
on
a bye.
heavily.
I'm putting up, guys that are putting up numbers for me. I have them on a bye. I'm able to, plug in Brandon LaFell. We talked about it on the weekly before. Somebody I picked up.
Nice
Brandon
player.
LaFell's pretty decent.
I think his numbers dropped off a little bit this week.
Well, no, he puts up 13 points last
13
week.
points?
Doesn't get in the end zone for me, but hey, I mean, really, if
13 points?
somebody that I'm plugging in on a bye, if they can put up double digits,
Nice
for me,
player. He's a nice player.
yeah, go ahead and do it. Antonio Brown.
Nice player.
Antonio
again.
Brown is fucking pimping the league.
Well, I don't think there's no better way to put it.
Trade deadline's coming up. Any thoughts on dealing
well,
that out?
Oh, he's
you
a
got-
boomer
you got-
bust.
you got-
No.
Antonio Brown, number one
No,
receiver in the NFL right
he's
now.
a
leading the
fucking
league in
pimp.
receptions
Absolutely.
and yardage. If you got gold bars, I might trade him for some gold bars. But
And
I'm just
Matt
saying,
Forte.
but that's
Yeah.
about it. I mean, I'm not looking anywhere
Yeah.
else. I mean, really, I don't get much production out of the rest of my lineup. But one thing I do want to talk about real quick. I pick up Seattle's defense last week. All right, now, Seattle's defense, by all accounts, number one defense in the league going into the season, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Miles drafted him. I'm sure he had to draft him 6th, 7th round, somewhere down. And so now we're sitting here week 9. He's been a little bit frustrated. They haven't put up huge numbers. And he goes ahead and he drops him. And he drops him in a week that they're playing Oakland.
Unbelievable.
Exactly. Why would you? I mean,
Oakland's 0-8.
weak sauce.
Yeah.
I mean, weak
Man,
sauce. Hot weak sauce.
I'm betting
Yeah,
my,
shit's
I'm
broken.
betting my
That's how
sauce right now on playing Oakland this week.
Yeah,
My
exactly.
Denver guys. I'm
Exactly.
betting my sauce on it right now.
Weak
You
sauce.
got Denver going up against Oakland. That's like a slaughter game.
Exactly. I have no.
Even Seattle going
I
against
have-
Oakland.
In Seattle.
Yeah.
He dropped Seattle's defense.
And who do you pick up for that?
This is my team. I don't know who the hell he picked. It doesn't matter.
Oh,
It was
it
just,
doesn't even
this is
matter.
just a miscalculation on Miles' part. I have no idea why he would do that.
Silly bitch.
I will
You know?
no longer worry about who I'm going to be playing on defense every week. I'm going to be playing Seattle's defense. So thank you,
Yeah.
Miles. I appreciate that. Not much else to go through on my
Nice
team.
point of the year to pick that up, by the way.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm really fortunate. Let's get to the, we got one more matchup to go
One more
through?
matchup to go through, and this is a fucking another
Oh, J.
shocking loss.
Jerome. Why don't you
Oh,
go?
I know. I could not believe it.
Jerome, why don't you just go ahead and start us off with this one? I mean, really,
All
right,
why
well,
don't you start us, we'll start us off where you went wrong.
Where I went wrong? Well, where I didn't really go
Yeah.
wrong. What happened is Nick Foles went out in second quarter,
Yeah.
went down,
Yeah.
and he
Big
only
injury.
put up 8 points. That's my starting quarterback. He's done for the year. He'll be back in week 16. I already dropped him. Anthony, he's up for grabs. That's your boy. So you look at 8.06. He could have had another 10, 12 points on there.
This is a close matchup. I mean, it's
If he would have had the other 10 or 12, I would have won.
We talked about it. This is probably going to be a lower scoring week, for everybody with all the buys and stuff like that. You end up falling by 9 points, and certainly that could put you over the top. You picked up Andre Holmes a few weeks ago.
He did good this week. He fell off a little bit.
He doesn't do anything last week for you. Steve Smith doesn't get in the end zone for you.
Steve Smith, old man, still
Yes.
getting it done though.
You do kind of have an old wide receiving.
I do. Reggie Wayne. I traded for Reggie Wayne for Mark Ingram, which I'm kind of kicking myself for now.
Going
but
forward, though, I mean, it'll happen. You only put up 79 points this week.
I
Not a big
think,
deal.
I think I'll be okay.
Is there one more week till the trade deadline?
Yeah, November 14th is our trade deadline, folks.
Sorry about that.
Trade deadline.
If I jumped your gun.
Let's talk. Anybody. What do you want to do?
What do you think?
So
really,
there is only a couple more weeks
Go
to
on.
make a trade deadline, and one more week to make a trade.
We've got
trade
you on the
deadline.
show here, Jay Roman. Really, going forward, what do you think is what's the crux of your lineup? Where do you need to hit on? What when you look at your lineup? I mean, what are you looking at and say, hey, if this happens,
I think in week 9, I'm looking at Ahmad Bradshaw only put up 8.8 points. he could have done a lot better than
But,
that.
I
It was
mean,
more of a passing game.
But
And
you know,
they were giving Trent Richardson the ball a little more.
Trent
But
Richardson's 100% healthy now again.
he doesn't do nothing, though.
He doesn't, but you know what? I mean,
Ahmad Bradshaw's been sweet.
if you've paid attention to the Colts offense since they traded for Bradshaw for Richardson
last year for
mid-season.
Cleveland, in Cleveland.
And they just, I mean, Richardson's the guy, they just like give the ball, he gets 2 yards, like, well, we'll give it to him again. And
Puts up decent fantasy
he'll
numbers.
get 2
but
yards
not
every
great
carry, and he'll get.
yeah, no, I've seen it. And I get frustrated with it as well, but I don't. We've talked about it on weekly, and I mean, I think you hit on it when Richardson was kind of banged up, and Bradshaw was able to put you up those good numbers.
I'm still gonna stick with Bradshaw though. He's a passer though. I mean, that's his most. He's got 8 touchdowns, but 6 of them are receiving.
Yeah. You know, but
for a running back too.
In my opinion, and Jay, tell me what you think about this. I think J-Ron goes first round, Jimmy Graham, right? Tight end, Jimmy Graham, and I mean, we love some Jimmy Graham.
I do too.
I'll take a double scoop of Jimmy Graham any day of the week. Okay, but I think going forward, if J. Rome is looking to be a playoff contender and looking to make some noise in the playoffs, J. Rome's going to be putting up Gronk numbers.
Correct.
I mean, really, what do you think about that? Do you think, I mean, I don't see any other equation for him.
If you go tight end in the first round, there is no way.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
to be
I've
honest
got a
with you,
decent
sitting around
squad.
the table as a first-time player, I'm going, well, he took.
Well, I got Russell
You know,
Wilson. I dropped Nick Foles.
I was wondering why you were doing that because there's 4 or 5 tight ends that can put up decent numbers.
That's
right?
true.
So out of the 12 people that are drafting,
well, I know.
that doesn't scare me.
I had a theory with what I wanted to go with, and it didn't quite work out.
But
I went with something that worked out well for me last year.
Well, and I think it's a great philosophical debate, honestly. I mean, Jimmy Graham's kind of almost a hybrid, like, receiver.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's the thing that
if you're taking Jimmy Graham and now Gronk has turned out, if you get that guy and he produces, Jimmy Graham hasn't produced for you so far.
Well, he missed
Gronk
2 games.
Gronk has produced for Jay, and I think that's the difference in his team right now.
It is.
You know, and it could be the difference in your team going forward, but I think that's where you look week in and week out and you say, I don't just look for Jimmy Graham every week. I think that's the barometer for yourself.
I think Justin Forsett has to do something a little bit more starting
sure.
running. You know, he hasn't really done too much. But it was a decent trade on my part I gave up Wes Welker, who's dead to me.
Oh, just absolutely.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, Wes Welker last year.
I think I'll be all right.
Let's
going
go
into the playoffs.
I call sidebar on that. Real quick on Wes Welker. We've talked about on Weekly how Wes Welker's an amphetamine addict, and he should retire because he's had 18,000 confessions. I think that we might actually be there now. Wes Welker last week goes out into the flat, drops a pass, and just gets destroyed.
Crushed into the dirt. Did you see the dirt in his helmet when he got up?
I mean, he's a white guy smaller than the 3 of us.
Dude's 5'8".
Yeah. And
Kenny? He's the same size as Kenny, but just thicker.
Yeah, I mean, I could light him up. He's not a big dude. And Wes...
Oh, you can imagine. Even backyard football, the dude would get
Exactly. Wes, I wish you were a fan of the show because we called it here on Weekly Week 2 that you should retire. Go play some golf, buddy. Just
play some golf.
Enjoy your money.
Collect your pension.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to get a nice one from the NFL.
You know, quickly over to Jamie's team. You know, we're dealing again 2 teams, 4 and 5, 3 and 6, 2 teams that are kind of in the playoff bottom rung or whatever. Andrew Luck.
The Gingo lady,
That's what hurt me in that game. I needed my 2 Colts
to outdo the
quarterback.
That was not
she
going to happen.
Was unable to do it. I mean, that's kind of really.
What would have done it for me though? I mean, if you look at the score, it was 40-24.
T.Y. Hilton, though.
Sorry.
Right? No.
One or both of my guys would have got the touchdown. T.Y. Hilton's the one that did it.
Andrew Luck now, he's got somebody there
that he could throw to.
That he's looking for deep in the end zone.
But if I could have had both of my guys get a score out of that 40, they could easily done that.
Real quick though, let's think about Monday Night Football. I mean, really, I'm thinking going into Monday Night Football. I mean, the Giants have always been a team that over the past few seasons they start off shitty, and then they bring it on late. And
Eli Manning's been putting up good numbers. I thought the matchup this week, Eli against Peyton.
But I thought
it was a good matchup. I mean, I don't know which one I would have chose at that point.
Oh, I mean, Eli or Peyton?
Well, this week in the matchup.
I'm thinking last week going into Monday Night Football, I think the Giants are at home. They've got the Colts. Colts are coming off that shootout game against Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
You know that the Giants are going to get their man this week, and they lay an egg.
They got beat.
Guys,
beat hard.
Let's think about it. I mean, really, the Colts just come out there and take it to them. And we talked about Colby Sleeman already. You know, the
Yeah.
tight end gets a nice, receiving. He's throwing it all over the place. T.Y. Hilton, Reggie Wayne's getting in the game.
He got in the game
And
last
to be honest
week.
with you, a lot of
Put
it
up
was the
14
kicking.
points and a
Vinatieri-
score.
Vinatieri kicked every field goal that hit.
I mean,
And he put up
now like the
19
Lions,
points for
well,
fantasy
yeah.
points.
Jeez.
You know,
You
Jesus.
You know what? Vinatieri
He
hit
was
every
hitting
field
40
goal
yards
from
plus.
40 plus, 40 plus, 40 plus.
Yeah, I mean, Jerome, you end up falling by 9 points this week. I mean, going forward, you'd be one of those teams that, I mean, if I had to predict it here on weekly, I would say you're outside looking in right now.
You know what? I'm going to have to disagree with you, but we'll see what happens.
I would hope so. And then, Jamie moves up to 3-6. It's just such a gaggle there, guys. If there's some value out there, if you're watching football, you see somebody go down with an injury, you got to find out who the backup is and go pick them up. And, there's always better value out there.
I'll tell you, for the next 2 weeks, though, I'm going to have a running back problem with Frank Gore.
Why?
Because he's put up poor numbers pretty much all year, except for 1 or 2 games. I have
because of the
Maud Bradshaw, and then
you're
the
going to be
following
starting
week I got Forsett the following week.
Oh, buys?
Yeah.
Ooh.
So I'm going to be starting Gore 2 weeks in a row. It's only one player, but hopefully one of those 2 weeks, Frank Gore actually does something.
Well, let's see what happens. Jeremy, why don't we say, let's go ahead and let's go into week 10 projections. Week 10.
Week 10 projections? Yeah, week 10.
Week 10 already.
Here's the week sauce right here that I'm talking about.
By.
What do you got, Andy Dalton there?
This has actually been coined rivalry week somehow by Yahoo. I don't understand how that worked out. But it's kind of interesting that we've got J-Rome's team up against Suzanne this week.
Ooh,
I'll tell you what, Andy Dalton didn't do too well so far.
McFeely.
Come on, McFreely.
What do we got here? What are we thinking here, guys? Let's take a quick look at the lineups. Russell Wilson. Now, that's been a disappointment for you.
Well, I haven't used him, really. I used Nick Foles.
Well, okay, but you're going to be relying on Russell Wilson last week. And I will tell you, as a Russell Wilson owner,
I'll take Russell Wilson over the Giants.
He's home against the Giants.
Home against the Giants. He's going to go off on them.
Russell Wilson has a great matchup last week against Oakland, right?
Yeah.
And Seattle ends up winning that game, and they win that game.
He didn't do shit, though.
He did nothing.
10 points.
He's no touchdowns. He ends up having less than 50% of his passes completed.
Right.
Really, there's Russell Wilson's somebody. We've seen weeks where Russell Wilson goes off and runs for 100 yards, passes for 300 yards. And we all think, oh my gosh, it's Mike Vick again. We've got Michael Vick.
No, he did that 2 weeks in a row, but hasn't done shit since then.
Yeah, he does it 2 out of 3 weeks, and then we haven't. No, you're right. We haven't seen it since then, and
I'll go with him. No, I mean it's getting close to the end of the season. We're halfway through, but it's fantasy season.
Yeah, I think
he'll get it done.
All right, talk to me. Pick up Harry Douglas this week, man.
Yeah, I did.
Harry Douglas, Falcons' third receiver. Honestly, he's somebody that I've owned in other leagues before. He's definitely a talented player. Definitely a boom and bust kind of guy for you. Then, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I did it. I do have Reggie Wayne on a bye. Stevie Johnson.
Yeah, that's another third receiver.
Alan Hearns.
Yeah, we're dealing with a lot of third receivers there, Jay. What are we doing at running back this week?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Frank Gore and Justin Forsett.
Is that because of buys then? You don't have a decision to make?
Well, Frank Gore is because of a bye.
Did you look at this 2 weeks ago knowing your bio was coming up?
I did.
Did you?
But you know what? Pick anybody up a couple weeks ago?
With the wires tight and the waivers.
Well, you see, that's interesting, though, Jay. Now, is that something that you're thinking about? You're looking forward in your bye weeks? And
I have. As a matter of fact, I've been building my team towards this bye.
Have you? Okay. See, that's not really something that me personally. I mean, I've played fantasy football for a long time. It's not really something that I look at that much unless I'm towards the bottom of the league. If I need to grind out those wins to get in the playoffs, then I'm worried about it. If I was in your situation, I really wouldn't be that worried about it because if I take a loss, I take a loss. Big deal.
Well, no, that's not. Well,
I'm just looking for value. I'm not worried about who can I plug in week 10 because this running back's out.
Well, I would never think that things are going my way 100%, and there's always a chance the other guy can come back.
How does this guy not think things are going to go his way? We're talking about scoring 150 points a week and lighting the fucking league up. We got people scoring half his points.
These aren't going nowhere.
What's the dude's name with the 180 that I'm after?
With the what?
The 180. I thought 180. You said the record of the league was 180.
Oh, Pedro.
Yeah, Pedro. Yeah, Pedro.
Big P.
Big P.
Big P
Don't
put up-
talk shit to Big P.
Big P will cut you.
We might not be friends after this.
If I can't talk shit before I meet him, then
My boy Big P. Pedro Perez, yes, 180
it's not like
point,
this is on
He
tape.
had 180 points.
180.19.
It's not on tape. It's the
All
world
right,
can see
0.19.
it.
Okay, now I got it.
180.19 is
All
the
right.
mark that you're
Well,
looking
after
for.
this week, then I can go for it.
All right. All right. Well, there's a man speaking with
180.19.
confidence. I guess he's just only not confident about this week. Quickly over to Suzanne's lineup. We get some bye players back. She's got Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins.
Actually,
Good players.
Randall Cobb, Sammy Watkins,
Sammy
Lamar
Watkins
Miller.
might be injured. You might want to keep an eye on that.
Michael
You know.
Rivera. That's got to be a pickup this week.
That was a pickup this week.
I mean, really, for the
Rivera?
Yeah, Rivera.
I would say he would be the best of the tight end pickups that you can get this week.
He was.
Yeah.
He was the best. He was
The
definitely
best
high.
available.
He was the best available tight end that was out there last week.
And
he
as
puts
far
up his
as
big,
who's Oakland's quarterback?
David Carr.
Carr. Okay,
Yeah,
he's weak, but that's his go-to
That's
player.
his only go-to right now.
You
I
know?
mean, really, Rivera puts up decent numbers last week. First time this season that he puts up big numbers, but he's definitely the biggest projected tight end out there in Waiverland. So, I mean, credit to Suzanne for picking somebody up like that if she's dealing with...
no, credit me for picking her up, that player.
I don't know anything about that.
So what you're saying is you did something right for her team, but not for yours.
I don't know anything about that. But really...
I gave her Mark Ingram on she needed running help. Kind of the way that Aaron Rodgers trade came about.
Absolutely,
She needed running help.
But the point of it is that everybody participates, and some people put more effort into it than others.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, and I don't have a problem with I have no problem with people putting in more effort. They should be rewarded with it. But the one thing that people,
I guarantee you, if Suzanne wins this whole damn thing, that she'll get the money.
I
I guarantee you that, because
Well,
I'll make sure it happens.
But that's the one thing though that we look for. Though I mean, really,
I got half
I'll
of
make sure it
that.
happens. No,
all you're looking
I'll
for
make sure
though
she gets the money.
is I want the players that put in the effort to be rewarded, and I want to be rewarded with a competitive effort.
Correct.
Yeah,
That's about
it's just being competitive
Sorry
amongst
for being-
friends.
Fellas, quickly, where do we think this one's going to go this week? We've got
Honestly, okay.
No,
Now looking what I know now,
Yeah.
I think I got this game.
Now you think you got this game?
I think I have it from what I see now.
Okay.
With Andy Dalton 3 points in the fourth quarter. They're losing 24 to
amazing.
3.
But Andy Dalton in Cincinnati's been.
That's the quarterback spot is a hard
That's a
spot
huge-
to beat.
that's a
That's a
hard
huge
spot.
20-point loss.
And you got Russell Wilson going.
Yeah.
Yep. You
And
should
that's
be in good
Russell
shape.
Wilson at
All right.
home to the
I would agree with
Giants.
you. At this point, if I was you, I would.
We're gonna
feel
go.
something.
Yeah, we'll go with a sweep this week on weekly with Jay Rome's team here. I would say the one thing I would look at on Suzanne's team is Randall Cobb. I think Randall Cobb's the one thing that he could put up those huge numbers that could overcome.
Randall Cobb and Mark Ingram.
Yeah.
Are-
That's where we'll look. I mean, Sammy
And
Watkins.
you
is
know what?
at
When
home,
I
too.
traded Mark Ingram away, and I knew when he was going to come back, and whatever week he came back in, I knew he was going to go off.
But he has. He puts up huge.
I took a
numbers.
receiver that I needed receiving help, thinking that, and I think Reggie Wayne might well retire this year.
I think Reggie Wayne. Yeah, you might retire for this season. Hopefully, he puts up some of these numbers for the rest of the year. Let's move on to the next matchup, fellas.
Yeah.
Here you go, Dave. This rivalry week.
Oh wow, we've got that bitches love cheese. The rookie of the year, Emily Scheib facing myself. Really, two highest projected scoring.
It is the highest projected game.
Really, they've got it projected a really close matchup, 112 to 110 in favor of myself. I could.
That's too
Talk
close
amongst
to
yourselves
call.
for a minute. I got to piss. I can't hold it no more. I got
But-
like 4 beers spilled
Hey man,
out.
you're on tape.
My man's dying over here.
Dying
We'll have to
over
edit this
here.
out later. But
Okay.
anyway, what ends up happening here is I get players back from a bye. I get to start Matt Stafford this week. Jordy Nelson's back from me this week.
Very
Huge.
nice.
I mean, really. I mean, that top 5 receiver for me. What do you think about Reggie Bush? I mean, you're a fan of Lions, right, Jay?
I am.
What's going to happen with Reggie Bush now that he's back? We've been relying on Joy Bell, Theo Riddick, all these other, makeshift
Exactly.
players.
I think that a lot of the NFL is going to this with a lot of different players.
Yeah.
And finding high consistency fantasy players is going to be very difficult going forward. And even this year, it's affecting.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder. I mean, I draft Reggie Bush 4th, 5th round, somewhere in there, and that's somebody that I'm thinking I can rely on week in and week out. And really, I started him this week almost out of legacy. Like it's Reggie Bush.
Right.
I gotta start. He's back. It's
You know
almost
where
like
you're sitting.
I sat Ben Tate. I sat Darren McFadden. I had some choices at running back.
Yes, you do. You got
So
some running back.
I'm gonna go with running. I'm gonna go with Reggie Bush. We'll see what happens this week. They're at home against Miami. I would think that this is a game that the Lions are favored to win. I would see that, they've got all their weapons back. Maybe the ball gets flowing around a little bit better. And, maybe Reggie puts a big day. Matt Forte's back for me as well. I'm at full strength. Emily runs into probably the best team that I can put out there. Looking at Emily's team real quick, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, you're a fan of the Broncos. And he's definitely somebody that's putting up numbers for you, Broncos-wise, right?
Very
Emmanuel
much so.
Sanders, big part of that passing offense. I think that, we talked about it before on Weekly, that I thought that maybe, LaShawn McCoy or Colin Kaepernick, like that's her barometer is if she can win or lose. It almost seems like it's Emmanuel Sanders now. This is a guy that's putting up 20.
If
20
he
points
does,
a game.
but there's Demarius Thomas on that team. There's Julius Thomas on that team.
She has Julius Thomas
room.
as well.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I love that
Sanders
combo.
is just going
I've
off
envied that combo
every
this
week.
entire year.
Yeah, I mean, she's got
Without a doubt.
both of those
Very
guys.
nice drafting.
Both those guys going. I mean, guys. I mean, honestly, if I look at this matchup, I say that if the Broncos are at it, okay. Now we talked about it. We thought that maybe that's a whitewash game, right?
Yeah.
The Broncos should just wipe the floor with them.
I'm betting my life on it this week.
Okay. And I say that if going into this week, if that ends up being just a whitewash game where Peyton throws the ball 50 times and they put up 47 points,
Right.
Julius. Emmanuel.
Everyone gets in on the scores.
Gets in on the scoring. Or
I'm
whatever.
betting on the running backs, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's how Emily knocks me off this week.
Right.
If that doesn't happen, it's more of a middle of the road game or whatever.
Right.
They take the foot off the gas and maybe they only end up winning like 27-10 or something like that.
Right.
Then I end up on top.
Are you starting Reggie Bush this week?
I am. We just talked about that where you're going. That's kind of my dilemma this week. Reggie Bush is back.
Who was your other choice?
Darren McFadden or Ben Tate.
Okay, so you're equal 3.
Yeah. Where do you go on that? Honestly.
Yeah.
Man,
Honestly, I would. Where's Ben Tate playing?
he played tonight.
Okay, so
I think he'd actually put up decent numbers, but I don't even want to look at it. Let's see. What did Ben Tate put up? Yeah, Ben Tate's got 12 points right now.
tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. Reggie Bush won't get you 12 points.
All right. Where we go with this one, guys?
We're on your
I think I got to go with you. You've been on a roll all year long. I can't argue with success.
All right. So Jay's got me at 9-1. J-Ro?
Where are we at this week? Yeah, we're on this week's games.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I was at.
What do you think, J-Ro? We're gonna go.
I would expect nothing less from you.
All things being said, I mean, we do have to, full disclosure here is that it's Thursday night.
Right.
Emily's team's already played her kicker and defense, and it doesn't look like they're doing
Okay,
a
so
lot
your
for it.
she already played a kicker and defense and only put up 6 points.
Yeah, it doesn't look good.
That's a rough 6 points
Kind
to
of
give
like
up.
your game, yeah.
You know?
Like with,
Yeah.
with Andy Dalton, only putting up a couple points. I mean, at this point, you have
I
to
honestly
go the
expected
other way.
Andy Dalton to
I've
do
seen
pretty
it
decent
flow
today.
the opposite way, though. But obviously, right now, you have to look at it as
Yeah, I would say Dave has this game. I mean, you're losing a kicker and a defense points right there. I mean, that's kind of weak.
It's kind of
weak
giving.
sauce.
Yeah, it's giving
Although
away
defense
points.
It's giving
doesn't
away
mean a lot.
points.
No, in
kicker
our league-
can make a difference, but
Yeah, in our league,
I mean, if you're
defense
going to
doesn't
lose
mean
two
a lot.
positions, those are the two
It
I
doesn't
would
mean a
choose.
lot, but I mean, even losing 5-7 points in a matchup that's predicted that close is a huge deal for her. So yeah, I'm going to sweep that one as well, guys. I think that I actually end up, coming away with a victory this week. Like I said, though, I look at that Denver matchup, that Denver-Oakland matchup. They put up huge numbers out there. Then I'm in trouble. Otherwise,
You know what matchup you're looking for is you and Jay in week 12 or 13.
can we?
That's going to be like the Battle of the Titans.
Yeah,
Because that game will decide who's going to be sitting in first place.
and get that extra 40 spot too.
I expect to split it at this point, but yeah.
Well, what do you got on the next matchup?
What matchup?
We'll talk. No, I would love Jay.
That's going to be the matchup of the year.
We'll dive into that a little bit. We'll do a little special, little side note here in a
Side
second
note on
about that
that
matchup because that's definitely going to be a matchup that really. And this is the first time that when I've played fantasy football where there've been two teams at 8-1. Usually, I mean, honestly, it's rare to see teams at 8-1 fantasy ever.
It really is.
It
that,
is.
That
And
two
we have,
players
to
are
have
going to
two
be
teams at 8-1, and really we're only 30, 40, 50 points apart overall. On top
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Very
If
close to
that much.
Yeah, I mean, and
maybe 40 points.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
and I mean,
difference.
But my guys rock, so.
he's wearing black leather from head to toe, so
He's wearing two coats.
no, but I mean, really, Jay's team really has come on strong in the last 4 or 5 weeks. I think the momentum is on his side. I think, though, the problem for you right now, Jay, and we'll talk about it right now, though, is that you've got a bye week this week. You're definitely in trouble this week. This is a week where you're predicted to lose. we very well might go down.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, I think
but
the
I'm
point
saying
totals are very close. I mean,
this-
prediction-wise, it's very close.
This week is critical to overall standings for
It
the league
is.
standings. Who's going to be number one at the end
And,
of the year?
and to be honest with you, what I want to do is I want to just keep it close. As the closest I am at this point is the best I can hope for.
Well, I think that going into that, I think I need to lose this week so that when we get into that week 13 matchup, if I have that one game edge,
Cushion.
yeah, whatever, we end up tied, maybe we can go down to points or whatever. But if we end up going, and
Well, then the points.
You
that.
want to be
Already
keeping
hit
it.
you.
You
Yeah.
want to keep the points there. That's a good matchup.
I can't be
It is.
I can't be in a situation where we're tied because more than likely the points are going to be you.
And I said earlier that I've been planning for this for a few weeks because I saw this coming because I pay attention to what's going on, and so I've got a roster. It's not the best roster,
Well, I think that we would
But,
have to all admit it actually is the best roster. This guy is.
but
he
from what I've been looking at, from what I can
I
see,
would
'cause
honestly
I've been
say
looking at.
Jay has the best roster
He does.
in the entire league.
He does. He has. I would say he has the best roster in the entire league. The one thing, that's the thing we've talked about on Weekly before. There's two ways to construct your roster, and I've always been a guy that I'm kind of a conservative guy overall, and I've always liked to have those teams that I can count on for that 100, 105 points every single week. Beat me.
Right,
Come out and beat
Put
me.
the
exactly.
lid down.
Come
on
out
the
and beat
grill.
me if you can.
Huh?
Right.
Put the
Your
lid down.
team is a team that just can put up the monster.
No, put it down because
And
then it holds in all
if
the
you
heat
have a
and the
monster,
metal
it doesn't
heats
matter.
up.
I
The
can't-
metal
I
lid
can't-
will
My
heat
team
up.
can't put up 150 points. They can't. But they're going to put up 115.
Right.
Every
you
single
have it
week. It's a fun
on.
beat.
That's
That's
what
kind
I'm
of how
saying.
I
Yeah,
look
put
at
the
it.
lid down.
Let's
and
move into the
it'll-
next matchup, guys. I mean, we're going to deal with two teams here now that are both at 4-5. We've got that Get Money team owned by Santonio Drag.
What's his last name?
Drag.
Drag? Oh, Drag? All right, whatever.
D-R-A-G-G.
Okay.
That's his last name.
Okay,
I can't
I was
say it.
thinking something different.
No.
Never mind.
Santonio Drag. Versus Ridiculousness and Anthony.
Okay, I'm going to comment on this right now. Jeremy Hill, 4 points tonight.
That's weak sauce.
That's weak. I honestly, after seeing what I see, I think Tony's team has the upper hand in that game.
And as we've been here filming this tonight, Jeremy Hill, we talked about earlier, that we thought was a decent one that was going to overtake Giovanni Bernard,
Put up 4 points.
and then
tonight.
right now does absolutely nothing.
But it kind of seems like this is the kind of game though that they're
That's
down.
the game they're having, though.
They're
no
down-
offense going.
They're
in
down
any way.
24-3. They've probably been passing the ball all night long.
Right, trying
Not-
to get yards, trying to get close.
Trying to do something. The running game's probably been abandoned by now.
Correct.
So
Right.
I mean, I can't fault him for.
I mean, you
starting
got 7
Jeremy.
minutes left in the fourth. And
We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
DeMarco Murray's going to go off as usual against Jacksonville. It's
but
horrible
that's
defense.
another. But we've talked about this, guys.
That can't happen.
We're playing out in London, though. All right.
They're playing in London that week. Yeah.
And I never trust any fantasy player in London. They're playing on that high school field that.
Oh, look at the Lions fucked themselves into a win in London last week.
Well, I'm saying, guys, I am telling you, don't play your players that are playing in London. And honestly, another thing that I would say is don't play players on Thursday Night Football. They don't have the time to prepare.
Yeah, because they're coming off of 4 days.
Yeah,
And,
it's a whole different story. Jeez, looks like he starting Devontae Adams,
I don't like that start.
third
Not
receiver
like
out
that.
of Green Bay, but I
Over
think
who? I mean,
I don't think he has anybody to start. I think that's just kind of a bye week plug-in. He's looking for a boom there.
yeah.
We talked about Nick Foles. Let's talk about that real quick. Nick Foles goes down last week, collarbone injury.
Yep.
It looks like he's going to be out to the end of the season.
He'll
Maybe
be back
could come
week
back.
16, they're
But
saying.
from all reports that I've heard, it seems like the Eagles'
He's-
brass is
He's
they're
not
done
gonna,
with him.
He's not going to be an Eagle next year. He's
Yeah.
not going to play again for the Eagles this year.
So we're not going to see
Even
that.
if he's back in week 16,
So if
he'll
you
be a
bought
backup to Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, if no, he's not going to be back at all.
Oh.
He's not
He's
going to be
playing-
back.
he's-
Well,
no.
yeah, Mark Sanchez and
It's not. It's
He's
not.
not going
what
to
a
be an Eagle
mess.
next
He's
year.
not gonna
and
be
a
an
team that was predicted in the Sean McCoy owners just have to
The
be
Eagles
amazing.
are still
Once
6
you go
and
to
2
start
in
going
that
to
Eastern
2 and 3
Conference,
quarterbacks
Eastern
a year,
Division.
But from
just
what-
in Minnesota, it's just you can't predict on anything
From all-
fantasy wise, and you know how good the guy is. You can't.
from all reports that I've heard, though, is that Nick Foles has played his last game
For the Eagles.
That's amazing.
Yes.
for an Eagle. Good, I mean,
And he's a good quarterback.
Yeah.
He's you know what? He's only played last season,
well, last season he goes for 27
27 and
touchdowns.
2 interceptions.
Yeah, I mean,
and that's in only half a season. He didn't even play the whole season last year. Once, what was it, Vic
Yeah.
got hurt,
Yeah.
and then Nick Foles stepped in. And
So we're gonna have to wait and see what
27
happens with
touchdowns
that. But
in
I mean,
8 games.
that's the way that they're going with it, guys. And I mean, Mark Sanchez is gonna be the guy. I think he's gonna be the guy for the rest of the year. Anthony picks him up. I mean, that's a high-powered offense.
That's a high-powered offense. Jeremy Maclin.
Sanchez.
The Sanchez is
Sanchez.
Yeah. So I mean, that's not a bad pickup. I mean, honestly, he's got Tom Brady, who is dealing with bye week. You know about the bye week.
I do.
With Tom Brady. He's got Tony Romo, who's
I think
got
Tony Romo's
broken
done
bones
for
in
the
his
year.
Yeah,
Maybe.
that's not good at all.
Well, they're saying he's going to start this week.
No.
He gets knocked down.
Not
a couple
in
of
London. Don't do it.
They're not going to
You're
start him.
moron.
And if they do, they're going to put him in the dirt one time.
Don't do it.
He's going to be done.
I see that too. Let's look at Tony's team real quick. There's not really much to talk about with Tony's team. We've kind of touched on it
Peyton
already.
Manning.
It's Peyton Manning.
Right.
We talked about it with the last matchup, Emily and myself.
Yeah, there's
That
a couple
Denver-
receivers, but yeah,
He's going to be relying on that Denver Oakland matchup heavily this week.
as will I.
He needs Peyton Manning to put up a good 30
As
spot.
well
for
I,
him.
Exactly,
Tony.
I
Yeah.
agree, 100%.
I want Peyton Manning to.
Golden Tate, he could do something.
He could, but look let's talk about that real quick. We've touched about it already, but Golden Tate projected by Yahoo to only put up 8 points this week. Okay, that's against
Well, Calvin
Who are they
Yeah.
playing? Miami? And Miami's a tough defense.
There has to be.
But they're
Vegas is there for a reason.
They're at home.
They're at
you
home.
You would think that. I mean, if Calvin wasn't available right now, Golden Tate would be an 18 point.
Calvin's
15,
coming
yeah.
back this week.
Yeah, so now he's down to 8.
You know what? I think
But
Calvin
still
will be
could be
limited.
still could be a boom, man. That's
the thing.
I wouldn't sit him.
Well,
Get him one good pass
no,
and
you
score.
can't sit him. You
If
can't sit him.
I
but-
wouldn't sit him.
Jay, you can't sit him, but I mean, honestly, you wish you were in a position where you're starting as like your
Yeah,
second
I
or
wish
third.
I was someone in a position I knew.
Yeah, second or third receiver,
Right.
not your number one guy. That's his number one
And
guy.
he's got the
Golden Tate is his best player outside of Peyton Manning.
he's got the backup to Justin Forsett starting.
Yeah,
You know,
Bishop
that's all-
Sankey's
that's
still
all-
going.
Bishop Sankey, he's a boomer
Oh,
bust every
He's
week.
gone,
He's actually-
man.
he's
Get
been a-
rid of him.
he's
He's been a bust every week.
There's got to be.
But that's
a
all
way.
he's got. You know, one
That's
thing.
all he's got.
One thing that
Tony hasn't really been paying too much attention to the waiver.
no, but you
list.
know what we like about Tony's team is that he starts players
Yeah,
every week.
every week.
We like it, Tony.
DB.
Good job, Tony. At the end of the day, guys,
Last
where do
week
you
was
see
a
this
fluke.
matchup ending up, Jay? We got Anthony against Tony. We're looking at projected 105 to 85 in favor of Anthony. Where are we going with this one?
Well, it's hard to predict against Anthony. I think that he has the players that are going to come through for him in the long run.
Yeah, I agree.
I think he's got enough solid players that
I agree with
like
that.
your team, that 105 is a solid number to pick, and probably will come with 5 or 7 points over projection with a 112, 113.
I see this game.
I would expect.
Yeah, I disagree a little bit. I think I see this game going under projection on both sides. I see Anthony maybe going like 97, Tony maybe.
Well, now that you got the Jeremy Hill with 4 points, I
Yeah.
could definitely see it going maybe under projection, 100 points, 98 points.
yeah, for Anthony, and then I
think
see Tony struggling to get out of the
Tony,
80s.
I would say Tony puts up a solid 86.
Yeah, somewhere in there.
You know?
I have a hard time seeing him get out of the 80s, and I think we sweep this one for Anthony this week. We'll see what happens, though. I mean, we've definitely had some surprises this year, fellas. Let's move on to the next matchup.
Next match, we got a DB. Let's see what he's got starting
Next.
this week. Oh, he's got a squad going this week.
Is he starting at tight end yet?
He is.
Oh, my gosh. Well, Dave must
Tennessee defense. Oh yeah, he's got everybody in.
All right.
Uh-oh.
All right.
DB.
Oh,
Team DB starting everybody.
Yeah,
I
everybody.
love it. I love it.
Honestly, I'm gonna go with DB in this game.
Whoa.
I'll
Just right out of the gates. Don't even wait.
so you want to go with the DB, huh?
Yeah, you like
and I'll
DBs.
tell you why. I mean, you got. What the fuck?
Tell us why.
Okay, we got Isaiah Crowell, 10 points. Okay, that's kind of weak. We got
It's
Jamal
not actually
Charles,
weak.
Odell Beckham,
That's not
Jeremy
weak.
Maclin.
No. You just called Isaiah Crowell weak. 10 points over 4 projected.
Okay, so so he's over projected.
Yeah.
10 points though isn't enough from.
I know, but he was only
projected
projected
for
4.
Right, but
That's
the
a-
10 isn't enough. The 6 points can be overcome. That's how I predicted the last round.
No, but we're looking at Mohamed Sanu.
His running game's going to be hard to beat. I mean, look who he's playing against running.
That's true.
Marshawn Lynch and Le'Veon Bell. He's got Odell Beckham.
No.
He's got Jamal Charles, Jeremy Maclin.
It's not that bad.
I mean, he's
That's
got
the thing.
he's
This
got
is
a
why it
nice
was so.
team.
Jay Cutler could do fucking.
That's why it was so
something.
frustrating to see him not actually participate last week. Is because his team's not that bad.
No,
Yeah.
he's
I
got
mean,
a good
we beat
team.
up We beat up here. We beat up on him here.
I tried to trade it with him earlier this year.
He doesn't
and he
respond
didn't return.
No,
You know what? I don't know what to
you.
tell you because I offered him some good stuff, and it might have been interesting, and this year could have turned out a lot different.
Well,
Just
fortunately for you, it didn't happen. No, we've got Odell Beckham Jr. We've got Jeremy Maclin. Good receivers.
Good receivers. Percy
Jamal
Harvin
Charles
on a
Percy-
shitty squad now.
Yeah,
He's
who knows what can happen? I mean,
Jay Cutler. He could.
quick look over at Random Chick, Amanda's team. Cam Newton, been a downer this year.
Yeah.
I mean, he just hasn't
Been
done
average.
Been average at best. Looks like she must be dealing with Deshaun Jackson's on a
Jackson's on a bye.
bye.
Andy Johnson's on a bye.
Yeah, so she's dealing with some receiver trouble there. J-Ron,
Her running match is going to be tough.
She's
that's
going to
where
have.
that's where it's going to be.
I would say the barometer for her this week is she needs both running backs to go 20 points. If she got that, she'd win. But I don't see that happening. I mean, that's a lot to ask to have two running backs both.
I could see both. I could see both of them with 15 to 20.
It's not like it's not possible, but
right, of course. But I don't see it happening, and I think that at the end of the day, I think the team DB somehow moves up to fillings.
DB does. Well, and he's got a dangerous playoff team too.
It's true. It's true, and that's
Tennessee's defense. Not
Defense,
Ruben Randall.
defense,
I think that it's that receiving.
He's actually got both KC running backs.
Yeah, I think it's that receiving core. It's that receiving core that makes this team dangerous.
Yeah.
It's that Odell Beckham. It's Jeremy Maclin.
Odell Beckham.
It's Percy Harvin, who might come on now. I think let's go with Team DB. Let's move on to that matchup, fellas.
Miles and Jamie.
The past champion, Miles Payne. He's been bringing the pain to himself a lot this year. But I see some starts already this week. It's Thursday night, guys. We can go ahead and talk about it. He's got Terrence West starting. Not a bad thing. I mean, Terrence West actually got more carries than Ben Tate last week in Cleveland.
I looked for him on the way.
Put up 14. Not horrible.
No, not bad for him.
He wasn't
AJ Green, well below projection, but we can't blame him for starting AJ Green.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you going to do?
No, not at all. He does got Ben Roethlisberger,
And who knows? Yeah, Big Ben might put up another
6
40.
more.
Roddy White,
Well,
Chris
I don't
Johnson
like Atlanta's
and,
offense this year at all, man.
Where's Chris Johnson at? Tennessee?
Kansas City.
Yeah. Chris Johnson actually puts up a decent week last week, though.
Yeah.
Maybe we talked about Percy Harvin doing well. Maybe that offense is different now with Mike Beck. And maybe Chris
Where's Miles
Johnson.
sitting at 3 and 6?
Yeah, he's in that whole gaggle.
This is a match at 2, 3, and 16.
I think the loser of this matchup is out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
I think you win that, you got a chance. I like her receiving core, Kelvin Benjamin, Larry Fitzgerald, Brandon Marshall. I've liked it all year long. She's got Carson Palmer starting at quarterback. Eddie Lacy's back.
Eddie Lacy's back. Yeah.
No, gents,
I had to put Carson Palmer out there on the waiver wire. I had him all year long, and I had to put him out there because I was trying to get ready for this week.
Gentlemen,
And that's part of fantasy
some
football,
predictions
why you
on
can
this
never
one
give
real
up on this. And why you
I'll take Miles in this game.
You got Miles?
I'll take Miles.
That's why you have to pay attention in this. It's because, things happen and other people have to release players and change their spot. So,
yeah, it's the bench players. Yeah, I'll take Miles in this game. What do you think, Jay?
well, Carson Palmer's been playing very well. Kevin Benjamin, I think the Larry Fitzgerald start, you have to start him. He can definitely go. Brandon Marshall's a nice start, especially in that game.
Trey Mason
is a nice player. I don't know. I think
game last week. Eddie
I'm
Lacy.
thinking Jamie might do something here.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. The loser of this game is definitely going to be out of the playoffs.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Well, no, for sure. I mean, 2, 3, and 6 teams. You fall to 3 and 7 right now. You just really don't think it's going to happen for you, right?
Right.
I don't know.
I'll tell you, I'm in the other league. I'm sitting in.
No, I'm going to go with Jamie on this one.
Go with Jamie with that one.
Yep.
I'm going to go with Miles. I've been a fan of Miles all year long.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always thought he's ran into a little bit of bad luck. He's made some bad starts. He's created some of his own bad luck. Guys, don't get me wrong. But his team, top to bottom, not that bad. AJ Green, Roddy White. I'm a huge fan of both of them. He looks like he's starting Martavius Bennett this week.
He did pick up Martellus Bennett. That was either a trade or...
No, that's just a... Oh, no, Martellus Bennett, that's tight end Martavius Bennett, the receiver out of
Okay, is that
That's a
who I'm,
pickup.
okay? That's a pickup. That's who I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Straight up pickups to steal right there.
What a great pickup.
Yeah. No, so we like
Absolutely
that.
fantastic.
So you're going with Jamie. You're going.
I'll take Miles.
I'm going with Miles. We're split on that one. Let's move on. Last matchup here.
Last matchup is Brad and Jay.
Oh,
The
goodness.
mayor.
Jay, now we're dealing with bye-week trouble. We've talked about it a little bit with this
big
week.
time.
Where do you think? I mean, really, let's see. We have to plug in Justin Hunter, Allen Robinson. I mean,
I like the Justin Hunter.
He's been. I mean, we're talking about boomer bust guys.
Yeah.
Well, they are, and they're both number one receivers on their team.
Right. Exactly.
And they are playing weaker opponents. So theoretically, and I've been, like I said, I've been trying to plan for this week and look in the waiver wire, and it's been a little thin. It's hard to pick people.
Oh
up.
yeah, especially this time.
12-man leagues are hard to pick
And
up.
which
off
is one of the
waiver.
questions I wanted to ask. Coming into this night is that I look on my screen and it says I can pick the dude up, and I try to pick him up, and sometimes I get him, and sometimes it's a waiver.
Well,
And so how long does the waiver pickup take? And if I pick up a dude on waivers on Thursday, does it not happen until Tuesday?
well, there's two different ways it can happen. If you pick somebody up at the beginning, if you put a claim in for somebody at the beginning of the week,
Right.
let's say it's after Monday Night Football and before Wednesday morning,
Okay.
you can pick whoever you want to pick up, but depending on what order you're in the waiver wire, okay,
Right.
meaning that if you
Which I've been beaten up before by
Yeah,
people
you
like
could get-
Seattle's defense.
yeah, you can get beaten
Because
out.
I saw Seattle's
Yeah,
defense
you
and
can
put a
get-
claim in.
Yeah, you can get beaten out.
But
by
because
other
I'm in first place.
Well, it's not even that.
It's-
It's not that in our league. It's by who made the last move. Okay, so if you've made J. Rome's probably consistently towards the bottom because he makes a lot of moves. So somebody who doesn't make a lot of moves, it's whoever made the last move. Okay. If I made a move right now, I would go to 12th in waiver wire pickups.
Okay.
Okay. If you haven't made a move in 3 weeks, you probably need to do it. That's how I do it in this league.
Okay.
I don't.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that. That's
And
why
then there's
I don't
another-
know because I've made I've tried to make moves, and
Somebody's already got
you
it.
want to pick on Jay Rome over there, but I could probably just as bad as him. Just it doesn't go my way.
Right.
And then
Well,
there's-
I mean, at the same time, there's been players and shit that I've tried to pick up too that
Which
Anthony's
is another
beat
thing.
me out
Is
on a
it's
couple
the first time
things, and-
players. I've overthought my players. I sat in Carson, or I sat Drew Brees and played Carson Palmer because Carson Palmer was playing Oakland, right?
Right,
And that
right.
was 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago, right? And now this week I'm betting my freaking life this whole entire week against Oakland because not only did I play Ronnie Hillman, but I picked up his backup, Juwan Tom, and I'm playing him, figuring that if they get a lead, the dude might do something.
Yeah, he might get lucky.
And that's how you got to kind of play it as fantasy points.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
kind of
I
the
think
way
too. I want to comment on your pickup of Adrian Peterson. Also,
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Well, that's a setup now for the playoffs. So I'm thinking ahead now.
No, that's a good pickup.
Oh, it's excellent. It's excellent. That's kind of what we're thinking about too.
I mean, he's gonna play again for the Vikings.
It's a misdemeanor. I'm sorry, it's a misdemeanor, and he's missed 8 games. They're going to fine him,
He missed
but they
more than 8
can't.
games. Well, no,
Well,
he missed 7 games.
He's missed the whole season.
They can't do too much to the guy. It's a misdemeanor.
Yeah.
He's missed 8 games, and he's got paid for the 8 games that he's missed.
And so they
so
suspend him 4 games. He's
Yeah.
still back for the playoffs, and my backfield's Arian Foster and Adrian Peterson. Well,
But who would you start other than you got Ronnie Hillman? Also, you got
Well,
Ronnie
exactly.
Hillman,
What do you want me
Arian
to do?
Foster,
You know,
and Adrian Peterson.
what a problem to have. Of course, I could trade with somebody too.
You gotta do it quickly. And then the other way but
I could trade Adrian Peterson.
the other thing that you got to think about too, though,
Which was your
there's
original
other
first
players,
round
too.
pick too.
Now, come Wednesday, there'll be players that are dropped by other teams, and then
Right.
if you make a move after Wednesday, it's the same process. So if you wanted to pick up somebody that I dropped, and somebody else wanted to pick them up at the same time, it's whoever's ahead of
in the head,
Okay.
in the head, that can.
whoever has the waiver wire priority or whatever.
Okay.
Looking up at this matchup, we've got Jay's team and Brad's team. Brad's team, we've talked about Brad's team. Solid squad.
He is a very solid squad, and I'm not looking forward to this week at all.
I noticed that he's got Eric Decker on the bench, who's
Yeah, but look at his
he's
receiving.
an on or off.
Who are you going
What's
to sit
his-
down?
Well, I know he.
Tell me who you sit down.
I don't keep track of players, but I
Yeah,
don't
you
know
know.
if you-
Honestly, my opinion this week, I would sit down Calvin Johnson over Eric Decker.
There you go. Well, I like that. That's going on.
Because Calvin Johnson's going to be split
He's
because
gonna
of his
be a
first
decoy,
game
you
back.
think?
Yeah,
You
I
think?
think everyone thinks that they're going to go to
Being
him.
in Detroit, living in Detroit, that's what you're thinking.
I can't fault Brad for the start of the wide receiver position.
I can't either. That's just my pick.
Who we talked about, guys? So, I mean, this is who we went with first 3 rounds. He goes Calvin, Julio Jones, and Alshon Jeffrey. That's who he takes the first 3 rounds.
I
mean,
he picked his receivers
He gets
first.
them all back healthy.
Yeah.
How do you not start him?
Yeah.
I can't fault him for it.
okay.
I mean, maybe at the end of the day, the numbers won't work out for him.
I think it's a
I don't
close
think
matchup.
it's.
Oh, it is. I mean, Yahoo has this projected as a 10-point game or whatever it is. We talk about Jay's dealing with bye week trouble.
Right.
This 5 guys on the bye.
This is the week to pick. I mean, Jay literally.
I think I will take Brad's team over Jay's team this week just because of the bye week trouble.
Well, if you look
But
at
I would say Calvin Johnson's numbers aren't going to show up.
if you look at Jay's team,
And that would be
Jay has every player that's on his bench is on
The bye. Yeah.
I mean, he's dealing with a lot.
I mean,
of
you got
problems
4
right
starters out of 9 on a bye.
I can't get over the fact if I look at Brad's team and I cannot pick against a team right now that's starting Aaron Rodgers, Calvin Johnson, Julio Jones, and Alshon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's solid.
And a team that's on a bye.
I like the Denard
And it's
Robinson.
still not a giveaway.
Yeah,
I like my fighting chances. I'm going to take it. All I want to do is keep it close.
Now I'm gonna agree with Jay Rome here. I'm gonna go with Brad's team here.
I think Brad's team's going to get it, but I want to keep it close.
All right, we go with the sweep. And, Jay falls to 8-2. Brad gets up to 6-4, and I think
Jay, I need some help this week.
I think if Brad gets to 6-4, that's another team that we can just count into the playoffs.
I think he's going to be in there at 6-4.
Yeah, I'll see this week or next week. Within the next 2 weeks, you're going to see your playoffs pretty much set.
Yeah, well, no, I think we'll definitely. I think for the last
top
spot
5 will be in after this week.
Last spot
I'll
or
see
2.
you again, Brad.
Last spot or 2, though, will definitely
Mayor.
go down to week 13. The last match, that's it, right?
That's it.
That's the last match.
That concludes the matchups of this week.
Excellent. Honestly, I been a lot of fun. Jay, I want to thank you for having us here.
Absolutely.
J Room's Garage.
J Rome's Garage.
Drinking some Bush.
Some Bush. Bush is going down like water.
Bush.
The orange can, man.
I don't even know where these orange cans come from.
South of 8 Mile.
South of 8
Mile. I don't know anything about South of 8 Mile, fellas. I grew up in Shelby Township.
Yeah, you're already out of your district.
I'm already out of my element. I'm already worried about how I get home from here. Gentlemen, we got some sponsors to thank, though, and I think it's pretty easy to start off with the first sponsor.
First sponsor, L&M Cigarettes.
Why?
They only taste expensive.
Thank you.
Oh, they only taste.
Let's go with a different one. We're not at Clubhouse tonight, so I think we can thank. Let's thank Bush Beer.
Bush Beer.
You want to know why? We should head to the mountains of Bush.
We
Head to
should.
the mountains of Bush.
Bush.
Hey, if you're going to walk 2 miles into the woods, you ain't carrying nothing less than a
30
pack.
pack of Bush.
I like it. There's always Wrangler jeans. Wrangler jeans because they got that U-shaped comfort where a man needs it most.
Exactly.
You fit?
Oh, come on,
Yeah, you fit right there.
U-shaped comfort. U-shaped comfort.
Hey, I'd like to thank you for the advice and all the experience that you've given me this year.
Oh, Jay, I mean,
And
honestly,
I really enjoyed watching the show and having a good time with it.
It's been great having you
and
on.
we laughed so hard. And who's your daddy?
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Well, one quick word of advice is I would really hope that Jay actually changes his team name to "Who is your daddy and what is your daddy?"
I was going to change it to my phone don't work. Because old guys rule.
I don't think we actually have to do that, but my name is David Robinson.
Jeremy Goodman. Jay Rome.
And Jay Bull.
It's been Fantasy Weekly, guys. It's been fun. We'll see you next week.
Excellent.